Lord.
Just tell you guys, you have not seen beef.
Oh, you have
not
beef.
heard
Okay.
beef yet.
Oh no.
So
beef.
hey, I'm sorry, but
You do you, dude.
Big J's beef is seasoned all the way up here in Sacramento.
double stacked, triple
Let's
stacked,
go.
and seasoned.
Triple
Yeah.
stacked.
So yeah,
Awesome.
I'm gonna be vibrating in my chair all night waiting for
My
the-
God.
I am going to be for
Yeah.
different reasons, but anyway.
Relatable.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Beyond Trek Podcast. I'm your host. I'm not Jay. Jay's over
You're not?
there.
We're doing great.
We can
Having a
share
head-
names.
Professionals.
We look so similar, right?
Oh my
so
gosh, it's the
you're Big J, I'm Big J.
It's the hair on the face. That's what got me.
yeah.
It's a Monday, and we're all having our own little woo. So let me try that again. I'm Dag, and in the room with me, I've got Big J, Renzo, and Suzanne. We are going to talk to you about Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 7, A Mathematically Perfect Redemption. And I'll be reading the recap. So this is your spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
The episode opens with the first previously on recap for Lower Decks, featuring the climax and aftermath of the Season 1 finale, No Small Parts. Peanut Hamper, the aloof and self-interested exocomp, defies her Starfleet compatriots' pleas to help save the ship by beaming away. We watch from her point of view the plan that was executed instead. Shax and Rutherford fly a shuttle into the Pac-led ship and use Badgie to destroy it. Shax dies, and then Cerritos is surrounded by 3 more clump ships. The Titan arrives in time to save the day. After the fight is over, Peanut Hamper thinks the Titan will rescue her, but no one does. Peanut Hamper is left to float among the space debris as a new opening credit scene rolls. Really nice opening credit scene, too. That was, sublime. Peanut Hamper is full of contempt for Starfleet while very enthusiastically working on a project to get out of space. She's assembled a small warp ship, venting her rage at Sophia, an exocomp-shaped debris clump reminiscent of Wilson from Castaway. Right as Peanut Hamper is celebrating the activation of her experiment, a Drukmani scavenger ship approaches and begins harvesting the debris, including Peanut Hamper herself. Seeing the writing on the wall, Peanut Hamper uses her tractor beam to fling Sophia into the ship, buying herself just enough time to strap into her warp ship and escape the Drukmani. The vessel seems to fly away at warp for a limited time, exiting subspace and falling to the surface of a planet. She awakens disoriented, but quickly comes to her senses. The chief of an avian tribe of natives treats her with care and escorts her around the village. She realizes this planet is alien to the Federation, renewing her plight as stranded with a bunch of hillbilly birds. When she replicates a candy for a child, the village rebukes her, claiming the ancients warned against her kind. One man even suggests breaking her open to find the witch inside. Peanut Hamper gets recruited into doing tasks with the elder's son, Rauda, scoffing at how poor their technological development is. When Rauda is urgently summoned to the village center, they find his father critically wounded, having been bitten by the venomous sky snake. While the village prepares for the imminent worst, Peanut Hamper nonchalantly gives a dose of hypospray antivenom, immediately curing the elder and gaining the trust of the village. While Peanut Hamper is celebrated by the village for curing their ailments, she begins to earn Rauda's affections. The deal is sealed when she goes with him to the village's hatching hut, as he explains that so few eggs will actually mature, it being the way of things. Peanut Hamper shines a light on the eggs, which immediately begin to hatch and produce strong and cheerful offspring. Later, while flying over the village with Peanut Hamper, Rauda gushes his appreciation of her, singing in a voice only a scuttle could love, scaring the living shit out of Peanut Hamper. Resting on a clifftop waterfall, Rauda admits it's his favorite place to hide from the responsibilities of his father and the village. Peanut Hamper says the same, that she never wanted to stay at home with the other exocomps like her father wanted. With a bond established, Rauda and Peanut Hamper bang away. Their afterglow upon a glowing blanket of foliage, Rauda explains how wrong he's been about machines and says he needs to show Peanut Hamper something. Entering a cave, he shows her how his people's ancients used to be spacefaring, but it only brought them endless war with other worlds. Peanut Hamper is shocked to find out they have abandoned advanced technology with warp-capable ships and all. She laments how wrong she's been about Starfleet, and how she needs to make it up to her duty in return. Exclaiming that she can never forget her betrayal of her crew, Rauda entices her to forget with him, and they bang away. Some seasons pass on the planet, and it's suddenly Rauda's wedding day. He and Peanut Hamper are just about to seal the deal when a shadow overtakes the village. It isn't a sky snake, it's the Drukmani scavengers. Peanut Hamper exclaims they must have tracked her there and fearfully begs Rauda to protect her. The Drukmani launch a shuttle and land in the village. They declare salvage rights over the ancient vessels, saying they'll leave in peace once the technology is recovered. Rauda's village attacks back, and the Drukmani beam back to their ship and launch an assault on the village. Rauda gives in to fatalism, but Peanut Hamper refuses to give up. On the bridge of USS Cerritos, Boimler receives a distress call from Peanut Hamper on planet Areolis, LOL, known to be a home of a pre-warp civilization. Concerned about their AWOL exocomp, Captain Freeman orders a pursuit course. On Areolis, the situation is dire. Someone needs to go aboard the Drukmani ship and disable it. Mirroring the discussion she had with her crewmates nearly 6 months prior, she steps up to the plate to go aboard the ship and disable it before it can destroy the village. The Cerritos enters orbit just in time to detect the Drukmani shuttle racing towards its mothership, leading Tendi to cheer that Peanut Hamper is indeed saving the day. In a scene quite like one we have already seen, the shuttle crashes through the hull, wiping out 2 officers in a hallway. Peanut Hamper lays siege to other officers before finding an interface in which she can disable the rest of the vessel. Far above the village, the Drukmani ship explodes and begins to fall to the ground. Rauda screams his objection and begins to weep before someone spots the Drukmani shuttle returning, or falling, back to the village. Rauda embraces Peanut Hamper, congratulating her on saving the day, to which she replies, "Pretty good for a space box." Captain Freeman, Shax, and Tendi beam down to the village and introduce themselves. The Areolans gather around to defend Peanut Hamper, but Captain Freeman says they're not there to arrest her, but bring her home. She tells Rauda she must return to her flock, and Captain Freeman says that's possible. Ransom suddenly alerts his captain to a major power source coming online near the remains of the Drukmani ship. One of the ancient Areolan vessels activates and takes off, firing on anything in its path. Opening a hail while under fire, Ransom hears the Drukmani tell that they were deceived by Starfleet lies, relaying a communication they received about salvaging powerful vessels from Peanut Hamper. Peanut Hamper is suddenly defensive and dismissive until the Drukmani captain replays the recording, incriminating her on the spot. Rauda is deflated, and Peanut Hamper goes on the offensive, revealing everything was a lie, and the Drukmani were supposed to be her ticket home. Rauda breaks down in tears, something he apparently does often, even after they bang away. Rejecting yet another call to heroics, Peanut Hamper bails on the village and her Starfleet allies. The ancient ship is demolishing Cerritos in orbit, and the village is falling apart on fire on the surface. Suddenly, another ancient ship activates. At first, Tendi thinks it's Peanut Hamper, but a scene change reveals it's Rauda, literally rising to the occasion to save Cerritos and the village. The Drukmani ancient ship is no match for this greater ancient ship, and Rauda saves the day. Returning to his village, he declares that they can rebuild, and maybe stop being afraid of the stars. Peanut Hamper appears, claiming this was her plan all along, but no one trusts her anymore. She tells Captain Freeman to beam her up, and the captain says no. Angry, Peanut Hamper threatens to call the Borg, but Tendi and Shax prevent her from doing so. She ends up in the evil AI prison, right next to Agamus. He recognizes her name as mathematically perfect and offers to do terrible things together. They begin their evil laughs and are joined by the other evil AIs. Peanut Hamper whines for them to stop, as they were not invited. This was very much a, like a Thine Own Self episode, you know, just segue.
I just need to know who in the writer's room, when this happened, why they decided not only are we going to have bird robot sex, okay, it's going to happen twice, and he's going to cry about it. What the fuck? Like, it's not that I don't know. I get the beef that people are having about the whole, like, oh, this isn't Star Trek. It's too weird and too it's the same people that made Rick and Morty. Like, I'm not expecting we're going to have emotional, like, amazing Emmy-winning episodes every single time. But, like, I watched this episode with my father. So, like, it was a bit much, I felt. But I love that I think my favorite part of the whole episode was the kid of the village elder, of him just coming in like, but father, you know, with like the Chad inflection. I don't know. It was great. I thought it was great, and I thought it was also the worst thing I've ever seen. I just don't. I like the sexy bird people, I guess. That's fine.
So I'll take a different stance. I just loved the episode. I have very little complaints about it generally. I thought that they did a good job of making me think that maybe Peanut Hamper was rehabilitated. Her mathematically perfect rehabilitation actually got me, especially when she was like, right at the end there, talking about how I did this to save you guys, but now I have to rejoin my flock. They're my flock, Rada. I was like, okay, I'm sold. She's it. This is awesome.
Yeah, they
And
did a
then the
great job of that.
Then the Drukamani dropped the bomb. And I'm like, oh, that bitch. So it was a great episode for me. I want to know who in the writer's room for Lower Decks is a furry, though, because all of the stringy and stuff that was going on was super someone's fantasy for sure.
After I said these like sexy bird people, I was like, does that make me a furry, or does that make somebody in the writer's room a furry?
Raudo is certainly ripped, so you're supposed to think that he's Chad as hell, right? He's Giga Chad Owl, and then you've got Peanut Hamper, a robot, and they're just like coupling, and you've got like a heart shape from his wings too. Like there was a lot going on. Yeah,
it's so much.
It was great for me. I think that the name for it and the space battle, though, at the end, were like my two favorite things. I think that the name for the episode is very telling, and I wish I would have thought about it more when I started, because then I would have been able to see through her ruse a bit better. But the space battle at the end was pretty sweet, because we don't usually get to see, like, here's a novel ship, and it's going to kick Starfleet ass.
Jay, do you have any thoughts?
Okay, let me.
I'm here. For
let me take.
I'm here for
He
the.
said, "I'm gonna pause real quick."
You're here for
I
the
want
beef.
this triple stack with all the faces.
All right, so we got Big J's beef here. Before I do that, I'm going to take a drink of my Coke with my pinky finger out. So.
Not the pinky finger.
This is going to be fancy.
Now, I may be in the minority here. That's certainly possible. However, here are my thoughts. I thoroughly dislike this episode. I get the idea of pushing our thoughts and perceptions of interspecies relationships, but this was played for laughs in which it got none from me. In my opinion, this was crass, inappropriate, cringy, disgusting, and distasteful. To me, this is the kind of episode that could get a non-diehard fan of Star Trek to stop watching this series. This series, to me, so far, has been mostly about Easter eggs and catching references to past Star Trek content. But the bottom of the barrel was scraped raw with this episode. How much did I dislike this episode? I wrote this speech instead of going off the cuff, which is literally what I'm known for. This is the code of honor of Star Trek Lower Decks. And by that I mean I would consider this episode apocryphal. I would rather watch Spock's brain, Turnabout Intruder, Beverly Crusher getting fucked by a ghost, any episode with Keiko O'Brien. Hell, I'd rather be married to Keiko O'Brien. I'd rather watch a Hoshi Sato episode or a Jack Ransom episode.
No Hoshi slander on this.
I love
podcast.
Hoshi episodes.
No Hoshi bullshit, Jay.
And
I
my-
love you, but
it-
no.
And my last one here, Gene Roddenberry is spinning in his grave on 4 axes, not just 3.
Well, let's tie some copper around him and generate power, because there's probably going to be more of it. But you're right. This is the lowest rated episode of Lower Decks. It's actually tied with the premiere episode, but it's the lowest besides that. So you're not alone in hating this episode.
No, you're not. Not at all.
I just, like, it got to a point in the episode where I said, I have to keep watching it because we have a podcast review on it. I can't just not watch it. As much as I want to, had to keep going through it. And to be quite honest with you, it was just, I don't know. It was like, that's why I had to write it down, because I'm
just
lost
surprised
for
you
words
hated this
otherwise.
more than the Mugatu masturbating his horn bit from the
Yeah,
first.
that's true. I mean,
Yeah, you know.
yeah, I was kind of on the same level there, though, I guess. I can see the crass and inappropriate. Personally, I'm like, for me, at some point, if something is crass and inappropriate, I'm crass and inappropriate. I'm a 23-year-old, so like nothing, you know, I'm around that shit all the time. I'm a college student, for Christ's sake, so nothing really shocks me. I think that it's not a kid's show, and I think my only concern is that probably a lot of parents do watch Lower Decks with their kids, even though it's been stated multiple times that it's not a kid show, and there are warnings for a reason, you know?
Well-
We got fucking Boymore spread eagle in one of the episodes from last
like
season,
it's not
right?
a
Like
kid
this
show,
is not
but
a kid show.
I could see how some
Well-
parents would be concerned about it.
I mean, yes, we know it's not a kid show. However, you know, there's that line of we're not a kid show and here's why, and then there's let's do something that's just gratuitous and uncomfortable.
Yeah, I find that that's the case with a lot of modern, especially cartoon comedy, which is why I really don't watch a lot of cartoons.
I mean, adult animation is a genre, right?
Yeah,
and this certainly is
yeah.
part of it. Whether
And,
you think of it as like this or, I don't know, there's plenty of anime that I would never watch with somebody under the age of 18, just because they are too gratuitous, right? This is gratuitous for sex reasons. Those are usually gratuitous for violence reasons, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know what's more damaging to children, violence or sex, but both should probably be kept out of their hands to some degree.
Yeah, I like Rick and Morty sometimes, and I don't others. I think that it can sometimes just be crass to be crass, which is just, it's toilet humor sometimes. It's fine, you know, there's lots of men in writers' rooms. That's just true, and you know, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I could have written anything better or anything like that, because I'm not a writer, you know, I'm not a screenwriter, I don't know how to do that shit. But like, it felt, the reason I don't have a problem with the sex scenes, they're weird, they're too much. I think they just get, like, you can do that without dragging it out so far, but it's like, all right, fucking move on. Like, I just felt like it was overdone. I felt like it was too much like an episode
And
of
they
Family
do
Guy.
it twice.
And
But they didn't
twice-
show anything.
No, and it's not gross. It's just, it's like, it feels like a joke play, which it kind of is, but like, anyway. But
Well,
the reason
Renzo,
I don't have an
didn't
issue.
expect the guy to use Peanut Hamper like a fleshlight, but
Yeah.
We
still.
don't know that that's
like,
how it works. We don't know. But
Oh,
we don't know what his parts are like. Maybe he envelops her. We really don't know.
it's so bad.
Think about that, though. Enveloping her and
I
using
don't-
her as...
No,
I don't
want
wanna
to
think
think
about
it.
No, it's terrible. But I do see what they were going for, and I do see that it was sort of a mix of like Star Trek and like Avatar.
Yes.
I've seen Avatar a bunch. I'm sorry, I love Avatar. It's a fucking good movie. I don't care what anyone says.
The movie.
Blue
It's
people.
a good movie. The Blue People
Oh,
movie.
Dances with Smurfs. Sorry, okay.
Yes.
Yes, and it's so bad it's good, and Sigourney Weaver's hot. So like I don't care. But what I'm saying is, I think that they did a good job with like that reference of like trying to, with the glowing flora, you know, and the like.
Oh, you
"Here,
meant
you're
the
one of
Jim
my people.
Cameron
You can come
Avatar?
see the secrets
Yeah,
now.
James Cameron. Yeah.
The
Dances
James
with
Cameron. I
Smurfs.
thought we were talking the Avatar that based
No,
on
no.
the show.
Blue people.
Okay.
Blue people.
Oh yeah, no, Blue People movie. The Blue People
bad,
one
yep.
that was like super, like made a lot of money and then was not
Yeah.
influential at all. But so
Wait.
like with him taking them to see all of the ancient secrets, like here, you're one of my people now. Like it was fucking Avatar.
I
and
want
so-
to hear Dag's take on this, because the three of us have gone for a bit. Dag, what did
sorry.
you think of the episode there?
I don't really have any strong feelings towards or against this episode. I did find, like, I felt that the gratuitous sex discussion may have lingered a second or two too long. I'm very glad that we didn't get to see like Avi and Bird Butt pounding away. That was nice.
The cloaca might have enveloped her. There may be no
Not the
pounding.
cloaca.
We're
Renzo,
not-
Renzo,
you know what?
stop it.
I don't want to. We're not gonna talk about how the bird stuff works.
Dad, can you cut his feet?
Please title
No.
this "The Bird Stuff." That's the title of the episode. Is the bird stuff?
I did feel like that this episode definitely put the bird in absurd.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
But
Oh Christ.
me being I just like the references that I can pull out of here. I like that we got Martok's actor back to do the Jukmani, and that we got Jeffrey Combs back to do Agamus, and foreshadowing more Agamus and Peanut Hamper stuff.
And hopefully Badgie from the eyepiece that was floating too.
I would like to see a variant of Badgie. That would be cool. People are trying to figure out the ship name for Agamus and Peanut Hamper, and people are like Pegamus or
Agonut? I don't know.
or Agamut, and I'm like, no, it's simply just penis.
Yeah, that'll work.
But so they burned up voice appearance by J.G. Hertzler and Jeffrey Combs on this.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna see Jeffrey Combs again, though. To be fair, I think we're gonna.
We
get
had
more
the
of
Greek
him.
Monty captain before in the previous season too, right? Like he was in the first season, I think it was first,
And
he's
he was in this season as Martok.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they've gotten a good bit out of J.G. Hertzler. So I'm sure it's just like,
But I
here,
do
sit down
agree
at your
with that.
computer, speak these lines, and we'll use
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah,
I don't,
we'll
I don't
pay
think it's
you.
much of a stretch.
I think this is
Yeah,
going
the
to
check
expand
clears.
way beyond where I was thinking with just Lower Decks. And Renzo, I may have mentioned it to you because there was a new Star Trek comic book coming out where Worf, Ro Laren, Lore, and Spock team up to do something. And on the cover of the comic, everybody looks character accurate. And I'm just like, by now, Brent Spiner just doesn't care what books or comic books he's written into. If they want to use his likeness, it's a paycheck. He sits at home, watches TV, he
Check
gets
clears.
paid. And so it's not that they do or don't care, but we're living in an era now where, for better or for worse, Star Trek is much more ubiquitous. And the actors can be a bit less discriminate about how they do their roles. Recall that Leonard Nimoy rejected doing Generations because upon reading the script, the lines that were intended for Spock, he said, could be read by anybody. This isn't a Spock. There's not a Spock contribution to this role. And they couldn't get DeForest Kelley because he was in ill health and the insurance wouldn't cover him. But if you watch Generations, recognize that the lines James Doohan speaks are Spock's lines, and the lines that Chekhov speaks are Dr. McCoy's lines. This is why Chekhov is instantly like, you've just become nurses, come with me. That's totally a Bones line right there. It doesn't sound natural coming from Chekhov. So, while Leonard Nimoy was much more discriminant about how he, inhabited Spock and how he contributed Spock to the role, J.G. Hertzler and our everyman, Jeffrey Combs, they can contribute to their voice to anything, sitting at home in front of a microphone and get paid
It's less
for it.
about like single character acting and more about character acting, if that makes sense to me. Like it's he had one thing to give specifically and was discriminate about how he did that. But at the same time, if you're doing animation, voice acting is a far wider range, number one. It just is. Like some of the stuff Kate Mulgrew has done, I'm like, what the fuck? What? She's in this? It's why I played Dragon Age 2 like twice. But
she's great in it.
She's so awesome. It's a whole different video. But what was I talking about? Anyway, character acting. I just I can see how you would. I kind of see what you're getting at there, though, because and I don't think that it would be something I would super enjoy doing, but also, and especially after COVID, a lot of voice actors have set up studios in their homes.
Yeah.
At this point, where like I can record a file and send it in a couple of hours and make, however.
That's
much money
how
they make.
Lower
I
Decks
don't
was
know.
originally shot too, or not shot, recorded too, right?
Yeah.
They did it from their homes, all the main cast.
Yep.
But I do want to point out, though, J.G. Hertzler and Jeffrey Combs have both done their voice work for Star Trek Online, too. So they're both very comfortable just voicing these characters for something fully remote.
So it's definitely a changing world, I feel.
Well,
So I did want to point out...
sorry, Renzo.
I hate Peanut Hamper. I hate
You're
Peanut
supposed
Hamper.
to. Yeah.
Fuck
But
Peanut
this,
Hamper.
I hate
the
War
name.
criminal.
I hate
the
Peanut
character.
Hamper like I hated Kai Wynn.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, I don't think now. Let me qualify that just a little bit. I don't think Peanut Hamper is Kai Wynn level hate. I just think that when people say they hate Kai Wynn and they love Louise Fletcher for playing Kai Wynn like that, that's how I feel about the direction of Peanut Hamper in this. I hate her. I'm supposed to hate her. If you have a guttural revulsion to this episode because of Peanut Hamper, I just want to place that squarely on Peanut Hamper for ruining so many lives and making this episode so entirely uncomfortable.
There was a
However,
poll.
The writers, the writers made choices here. What was the poll?
there was a poll on Twitter. Sorry, there was a poll on Twitter where somebody said like, "Who's worse, Goldicott or Peanut Hamper?" And Peanut Hamper won, I think.
At least
Hamper.
Goldicott is honest about his
Yeah.
malfeasance, right? Like he's
Yeah.
straight up. He's like, no, I'm gonna
Like,
twirl
no,
my
I mean-
mustache. I'm that evil. Peanut Hamper's like, here's this mathematically perfect scheme to make you love me, but in reality, it's to fuck over everybody who isn't me.
Yeah.
Well,
I just don't-
here's.
Oh, go ahead. Phil.
I was just going to say, when it comes to Kai Wynn and Gold Dukat, comparing them to Peanut Hamper, my God, I hate the name. The thing is that
It's mathematically perfect.
especially with Gold Dukat, and I feel the way about him as I do about Thanos. They believed in what they were doing, and they believed that they were right, and they believed that they were fighting for a cause. And to me, that's different. It's like robbing a bank for the sake of robbing a bank and committing a crime, or robbing a bank, committing a crime because you feel like you want the money and you're doing it for the poor, like Robin Hood or whatever.
Robin Hood, Robbin. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
you cut
sorry,
her
it was
feet
right there.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So, but with Peanut Hamper, it's just the character is so damn annoying that I am not invested in that character as a antagonist or villain or whatever, like I was with Kai Wynn, Gul Dukat, Thanos, or whoever. And the other thing that I was going to say is, when it comes to Star Trek, and when Suzanne said this got me thinking. In my opinion, I really think that if at all possible, and I know it doesn't always happen, but you should never have any fear with sitting someone down with you to watch a Star Trek episode, whether it's a current fan, a parent, a friend you're trying to get into it, sibling, child, whatever it is. You shouldn't sit down and get this episode or a Code of Honor or the Beverly Crusher ghost thing,
Sabrosa.
or
Wrong's
just
Darker
about-
Than Death or Night, which is my absolute worst episode of all time. So.
right. And that's the thing is, I think that if you can't introduce someone, if that's what you introduce them to, and you get stuck with an episode like that, I think that as a writer, producer, showrunner, whatever it is, if you put out an episode like that, and maybe you're not thinking that way, but if you do that, just think you're putting out an episode that if it was a particular person's first time watching Star Trek and they saw this, to me, that's like, well, shit,
Yeah.
now
So-
this person definitely isn't going to be into it.
I've got to take an opposite stance on you on this one. We talked about this earlier today, right? We were talking about how the
Mhm.
days of 26 episode Star Trek are gone,
Sure.
right? The days of tuning into a random episode on TV are gone. This show doesn't air on TV. You're not going to see it on syndication. You're not going to catch randomly a mathematically perfect redemption somewhere. You've got to pull it up on Paramount Plus. You've got to get to it.
And there
Right.
are warnings too. Plenty of them.
Sure, but my point is
Well-
more so, you don't start a show in the middle, right? You start a
Right.
show at the beginning. You do that now because that's how streaming works. Back in the 90s or whatever, or the 2000s, before streaming became a thing, you picked it up wherever the show was on TV, and then if you needed to, you could catch up with it with like
Reruns.
VHSs, right?
Mhm.
So it's different now. And I don't think it's quite fair to say that if you can't start an episode or show with any episode, it's not a good episode. Because try starting somebody on Deep Space Nine in season 6. They won't have a goddamn clue what's going on. They won't know who people are. They'll just be lost. And I don't think that's any better.
Bloody slaughter.
Yeah, I don't think that's any better than being disgusted by like bird robot sex, right? So I don't think that's quite a fair comparison. But I do want to point out a couple things about this episode. Some of the things you complain about most of the time, Big J,
Mhm.
this episode I think actually does exactly what you would have wanted. It doesn't have a ton of references. It only has references only to Lower Deck stuff, with like minor exceptions. The Aurelian reference at the very end, which is a reference to TAS, right? And then there's like a couple minor things, but it's very light on references. It's also building up backstory for secondary characters, which you specifically said you wanted to see. Peanut Hamper being a secondary character.
Well, that didn't count. That's not what I meant.
You said no, not like that.
Not like that.
Like,
I'm
wait,
just
no,
saying,
not like that.
we built up the character. We learned more about Peanut Hamper's backstory. She comes from a bunch of exocomps. She wanted to go be a Dabo girl on Freehold, right? Like, we're learning about why she's so fuckety, right? So we're getting more info.
I just feel like as much as I love Star Trek and as much as I like the silliness that sometimes Lower Decks has, I think it went a little far, but like I'm not a prude in that. Like I'm not saying that like, oh, it's like I can't handle sex in television. Like that's not it. But it's just like stop. But still it's kind of fucking teenage boy humor and I just didn't enjoy it. And also like why the fuck am I supposed to care about Peanut Hamper?
You're not.
Why should I care?
Right.
Well,
You're
I know,
not.
but like what and I guess that there have to be filler episodes occasionally, but this just felt like this sort of mishmash of like, we're going to do something really crazy, and then it just didn't really work. But at the same time,
I think the
love
point
the
is to
hot bird.
try and get you to care about Peanut Hamper in the beginning of the episode, right?
I guess,
It's
yeah.
trying to. She's like, oh, well, she's a bitch, and she's trying to build a warp nacelle. Well, oh, shit, the
Yeah.
Drukmani are bad. We know the Drukmani are bad. Oh, she escaped. Cool. Oh, now she's with these people whom she thinks are lesser than her. She's falling in love. She's getting better. You start to care about her.
Yeah.
It got me, right? Like, you're supposed to try and be like, oh, maybe she really is redeeming herself. And then you realize that, no, she really is just that fucking awful.
I do think also that not only was this to make us care about Peanut Hamper, and I do think it was brilliant for them to do the mathematically perfect. That's brilliant. That's really good writing.
It's
I
a
think.
giveaway, and I just
It's-
didn't catch it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like it's literally it's very, very good writing to me. And I know it can get gratuitous and it's just a little much, but it is very, very good writing. I also think that this is there because we're gonna see the evil computers again, and they had to have a way to bring in the evil computers again.
I'm hoping we get a trio team up of Peanut Hamper, Agnes, and Badgie.
Badgie's in the trailers. I mean, I've
Mhm.
seen Badgie in the trailers for the show, so I know we're gonna get Badgie back.
Maybe the trio won't be a season 3 thing. Maybe it'll be the season 4, the bigger antagonist going on. But I'm hoping that the trio becomes the thing because they have been the 3 most compelling villains we've seen in this show because the Packlids are boring.
Well, see, I like Badgie. I didn't mind the Packlids. Who was the third one besides
Agamus.
Badgie?
Agamus.
Oh, Agamus. I just if that's what happens, I'm
If that's
If
what
it's
happens,
Peanut Hampers in it or whatever. I'm gonna watch it because we got the show must go on. We've got to talk about it. We've got
You don't have to
podcasts
suffer
and-
through
No,
something you
no.
don't enjoy.
but we're also allowed. We're also allowed to share.
Reminded
that
me
we
of my
didn't
second
like
marriage.
It. We're not shills for Paramount. If there's something
Right.
that's genuinely distasteful, share it, and we can talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, we're not for sure. I don't know. I liked this episode in some ways and I didn't in others. I didn't like this episode for the same reason that I don't like a lot of adult cartoons, if that makes sense. Some adult cartoons are written in a very sort of teenage boy humor way that I
Mhm.
don't find funny, and sometimes it can venture into often it can venture into the offensive. This one didn't. I don't think I didn't catch any, really super offensive, like as in like PC offensive type things.
Suzanne,
it
I don't
can.
know if this helps with your interpretation on the episode, but it was written by Ann Kim.
Don't know.
Okay. Just
Oh, well,
saying
no.
it's a female writer to the episode.
Yeah.
but
And I'm not saying that it had some of the same concepts and some of the same issues that I have with a lot of male-led shows, because that's just generally how comedy and how adult comedy, especially in animation, can be. That's just kind of the set thing. But no, I'm not trying to say it's badly written at all. I don't think that at all. I think it's brilliantly written, actually, with the mathematically perfect thing and the hot bird people, and like it's silly, it's fucking stupid, and I love it. But I did have some of the same problems that I typically have in like adult cartoons, and that like they didn't need to. A sex scene would have been one thing, but the way that they talked about like her entrance or whatever the fuck that he said, just stop it. Like that's enough. I just felt like that went on a little far.
Well, and that's how they drew.
Uncomfortable.
That's how they drew the audience into the discomfort of the mathematically perfect redemption.
The
But I
biggest
don't
complaint
like-
I have about it, honestly, is that, and I'm with you on the puerile humor being like kind of off-putting, but the only place where I thought it was really bad was with the name of the planet and the fact that Boimler couldn't pronounce it. Areolus, come on, and he's just there like Areola, us, area, nope,
yeah,
and then just kind of gives up.
that
That
was
was-
the potty humor.
Yeah, that's the one I didn't like. I thought that was bad.
Yeah, it's.
I
yeah.
like that one. That's funny. Is like that one actually made me chuckle.
So glad that we have such a diverse
Boob jokes are
level of
funny. Haha.
humor here.
Yeah. Oh, I'll laugh at a good boob joke. So
Hey, but everybody
forgot-
has areolas, so
I forgot to add. Oh yeah,
Everyone has boobs. Prove me wrong.
I forgot to add this.
Sorry, move on.
I forgot to add this part because my document was written before today and I wasn't thinking about it. So here's another thing that I want to tell you how much I dislike this episode. I got in a car accident today, totaled my van. I mean, we're talking airbags and everything. It just complete disaster.
She's dead, Jim.
Oh yeah, she's dead, Jim. And of course I'm rattled. Do I have a concussion? I don't know, all this other stuff. And my fiance said, you need to just rest tonight. You should let Dag know you're not going to be able to make the podcast. And in my head, I'm thinking, hell no. I have words about this episode. I've got my document written. I've got things to say. I'm fine. I'm alive. I am not missing this. That's how much I disliked this episode was my seatbelt could have failed. I could have gone through the windshield into the car in front of me, and I would still be sitting here, even if I was in the ER in a bed.
You'd be streaming live from
I
your
would be
local
streaming
hospital.
live
My
from
God.
General Hospital.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't.
But
I
that's
totally
how-
feel that.
I appreciate
And-
your dedication.
Oh yeah. I mean, the show must go on. Now, if I would have, it would have been an okay episode if I liked it, even if it was a ransom episode. Yeah, I might have been like, yeah, I should probably take the night off, or whatever. Not for this one.
He said, I
Mm-mm.
have thoughts.
So
I've got
a couple things I
thoughts.
want to talk about though before
Yeah.
we move on too much further. So I really like the setup for the area or people. The fact that they had been spacefaring, decided that what, maybe it's too crowded out there. It's not worth the hassle. Let's just condense back down to one planet. We'll keep some tech underground, but we're just going to settle back down. That's an interesting story. It's not something that we've really seen in Star Trek very often at all. It happens in other sci-fi media, but not really very Trek because it's
And in
kind of more.
Moana.
We get,
Yeah, it's kind of more.
Let's see, what episodes does it happen in? Star Trek Insurrection.
Mhm.
That one planet, Paradise.
Yeah.
The DS9 episode where Cisco and O'Brien get tortured by the humans who are like, F the technology, and then they find out they've been duped
yeah.
by Peanut Hamper.
Yeah.
I mean, what's her name?
Didn't the Ocampa,
Yeah.
didn't the Ocampa and Voyager sort of reject?
No,
It's
they
been
had
so
a
long.
devastation because of the
Caretaker.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I always get mixed up if they were like shunning the thing or I can't remember. But yeah, it's been
So what
a
I
while.
wanted to point out though was there's actually in a video game called Sword of the Stars, there's a faction called the Morigi, and they are based on crows rather than owls, but they are bird people very clearly. And they also kind of went through the same thing. They were like an ancient empire that expanded all over, realized, oh shit, we don't like being this big. It's crowded out there. Then they recondensed back down, which sets up a very similar thing. Their ship designs, no similarity, but that kind of like bird people ethos and just go back to the nest and hang out there kind of matches, which I thought was pretty neat. And speaking of their ships, I actually thought that the two ship designs that we saw for the Arior were both pretty cool. They look a little inspired by the Sona, a little bit, but it's still a cool design.
It's
And I-
funny
Yeah,
and
that
I-
to me was the saving grace of the episode, was seeing the cool big ship battle. I really liked seeing new designs.
their
and stuff.
weapon fire was really neat.
It
Not
was
something
really
we've seen
sick.
before.
It's funny you say Sona because I got Stargate Pharaoh ships out of this. Not like the pyramid ships, but the Roz fighters from the movie with like the
Mhm.
wings.
Oh, but
arching
yes.
Like
forward.
yeah.
Backwards, you're right, but backwards, yeah. So
I see
like the
that.
Sona, they flip them around.
A little bit, yeah. And then the weapon that they used, that was very Balance of Terror to me. big old orb plasma in the front.
Mhm.
But that's not what it was, though. It was beams that came out of the orb thing, which to me was very much out of like a video game, like one of those like.
That did feel video gamey.
Yeah, it felt like something from like a bullet time game or bullet hell game, rather.
That's fine. It's supposed to be weird, magic, advanced stuff that the bird people came up with. Makes me wonder if the bird people ever came up against the dinosaur people.
The Voth?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, that would be even if like the bird people were descendants of the Voth because dinosaurs and birds.
or any of the
Birds are
Zindi.
dinosaurs.
or the Zindi. Are these the Zindi avians?
So I
Okay.
rewatched this episode with Alex after I'd seen it because I was like, dude, you gotta see this episode. You're gonna love this episode. It's gonna be funny. And he did love it. But his first question when he saw them was literally, are these the other Zindi race? Are these the last one? Is this them? And I was like, oh, that's brilliant, but no.
Missed opportunity.
Makes you wonder how Miggly Mo felt about these guys since he's sitting
I was
in the chair here.
He was on the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But like, can't you look through a view screen? Damn. It was
You gotta
I thought
give up.
Miggly Moo was gonna, like,
You
join
gotta give up on Miggly Mo.
I thought he was just gonna like join them. You know what I mean? Like on one of like Neelix joining the colony.
Oh no.
I
Miggly Mo has his own.
These are my people.
His character's dead.
You wanted to join the flock.
Not the
Eric.
flock.
Miggly
but
Mo
no,
is
it
wingless,
felt-
which makes him more of a Kenku and
Yeah.
not so much of a these guys.
That's true.
They don't have anywhere to go with Miggly Moo. I can
like a
feel it.
penguin.
I can tell you.
But Miggly Moo is one of the weirder characters. I think I hate Miggly Moo so much because he reminds me of a therapist that I had, like as a kid. That was just like, okay, what can we like? Is that a happy emotion or a sad one? It was just like, I'm 15 and I don't know what the hell's going on. Like I hate Miggly Moo so much, but I also really wanted him to like join the colony and just like fall flat on his ass or something. I want him to face some retribution for being an annoying pain in the ass.
I had an insight into Peanut Hamper's character that I feel is like a thread of her modus operandi, which is basically to be better than everybody else. You know, on Cerritos, she was constantly kind of mocking the people that she was with, like, oh my god, that's so primitive. And then she ends up on this primitive world, but you know, when she's in space, she's like, oh, the Titan, that sounds like a crew that'll respect a robot, and totally just ditches her. And then she, in her isolation, she even builds an avatar to pay attention to her. You know, Sophia, the little debris exocomp that she throws away at the last second because it's advantageous to her. When she gets to this planet, she is condescending to them, but she helps them out because they revere her for it. So that's how she gets her superiority complex, you know, vibes. At the same time, she absolutely wants off this planet. She knows the Drukmani are nearby, so she hails them because she's going to take advantage of these bird people as long as it's good for her and then bail on them. Probably do the same thing to the Drukmani. And then possibly her plan was to use the Drukmani craft to get something better to start war on the Cerritos.
No, I think her plan honestly was to get the Drukmani to show up and try and steal ships. Then she would summon Starfleet, summon the Cerritos. The Cerritos would show up, see her do her saving act, and then welcome her with open arms.
Oh.
And they
Right.
would be
The
praising
thing that broke
She
her
was
plan.
foiled by a recording.
No, the thing that really foiled her plan was the fact that the old Arior ships still functioned. And she says as much. I didn't think that they could function. They're so old and made by organics. Why do they still work? Right? It was her hubris thinking and underestimating that the organics could build a ship that would still function hundreds of years later or whatever.
Well, but that happened. That was before they said. Oh no, it was during the fight with those ships.
Yeah, they
were
lifted
like,
off,
we were-
attacked Cerritos, and
we
then sent the
were-
transmission.
We were betrayed by Starfleet. Oh.
Those ships are like 1996 Subarus.
But even then, she was still
Can't
foiled
die.
by a recording.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I mean, if they hadn't survived the explosion of their ship by beaming to the other craft,
Right.
and so on.
Yeah, and that also shows like the ingenuity of the enemy. The enemy isn't just, you know, to die off screen. And I like that a little bit about the bad guys here. You don't get that from other Star Trek episodes. There's not enough time to have them be so three-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Drukmani a couple times. They're more than just scavengers. They've actually got some like ingenuity to them, like the way that they did that tractor beam tug of war with Cerritos in the other
Yeah.
season, which I thought was pretty clever.
Yep. And then the end of the thread with Peanut Hamper is when she's in the little cell there. Agamus is revering her, so she's like, "Oh yeah, cool, revere me, revere me." Then the other robots start laughing in, uninvited, and she's like, "No, wait, stop!" As if to be like, "You're not equals. Revere me." And so that's where she has this superiority complex that she needs to be revered.
So the thing I wanted to say, like, as to why I think that the trio that I mentioned before would be a really cool set of villains is Agamus, Peanut Hamper, and Badgie all function through different methods in their trying to win. Badgie's straightforward. He just wants to stab you and kill you. He's the aggressive berserker type, right? He's not playing games. He's just going to keep following you until you die, right?
Yep.
We've got Peanut Hamper, who is about the manipulation of things. She's setting up plans within plans to try and get everything to follow a certain path, right? And Agamus is the seducer. He tries to convince you to do what he wants you to do in the first place. So each one of them goes through a different means. So the three of them working together, to me, sounds terrifying and a good villain.
Maybe they'll Voltron up.
Yeah, that'd be
Ooh.
sweet.
Wait.
And they're the
Yeah,
reason.
no, I
and-
agree with
and
that.
it being 2381 and so close to the synth ban, like this is going to be one of the reasons they're going to point to and be like, "Yeah, no more smart bots. Sorry."
That's
But-
fair, honestly.
But I'm going to use that to segue into the New York City Comic-Con premiere panel of Star Trek Picard.
Careful what you spoil. Not everybody's seen them.
Jay, did you watch the panel?
No, I'm sorry, I did not.
I didn't watch the panel. I did watch the trailer.
I did watch the trailer as well. Jay didn't watch the trailer.
But Jay didn't watch, so we
I'm
don't
not
want
a
to
trailer. Yeah,
spoil
I'm not
it.
a trailer guy.
Okay.
Oh, it's so
Sorry.
It's okay. There were some cool comebacks. There's some cool casting reveals. There's
Some cool inclusions to the universe,
cool
to canon.
cool inclusions to the universe and canon, and also an ultra hit new villain.
And some funny bits too. There were a couple like callbacks to like the characters. It was lovely.
We also had a lovely Prodigy trailer, which I think is looking really solid.
I didn't get to see the Prodigy trailer yet, and I don't care to talk about it.
I'm so excited. I'm not gonna talk about it, but I'm yeah.
You can gush over your Janeway, it's fine.
Janeway, I am free on Thursday when I am free. Like
He's like,
for dinner on Thursday when I'm free. I love it. I'm very excited. I'm excited to see it. It looks
And we
really
had the
cool.
Discovery trailer for season 5 as well.
That one was cool.
and
That one was cool.
I'm gonna
And
be,
didn't give away a
I-
lot either.
I did see
Didn't
that
give
one.
away.
That was-
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
did
be
see the one
honest.
for Discovery and for Picard.
Even because Renzo, I know that you had mentioned that like the Discovery trailer felt a lot more like Last Crusade to you,
Mhm.
Indiana Jones, and I'm like, it's about damn time because we've had 3 solid seasons of universe-ending threats, and I'm
Just
all
peril.
about just find the magic puzzles, solve it, and see what happens. I'm all for that. Let it
I'm
be
down.
some kind of ancient Takan Empire relic. Or something, that has a slight tie-in but hasn't really been explored. That's awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah. If it's
I'm
not
ex-
just like unending peril. for
I'm expecting
season,
it's going to be some kind of unending peril tool that they have to try and track down and find.
probably.
But that's just because I'm a little cynical about the way that they set up the plot lines for the season.
Yeah, and we've already seen Michael and Saru do their little head touch and eyes closed. Oh, we have feelings
And
moment.
Book
and I'm
is back.
like, so
Boo.
excited.
Well, Book was back at the end of last season.
Yeah.
They
At
resurrected
the end of last
him.
season, he was going to go do jail stuff, like
Do not pass go
Go
type
do
shit.
jail stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
he was not in prison per se, but he was going to go do like public service or something to help rebuild stuff. Now he's back and fine, so no consequences for helping, blow up planets.
I mean, in his defense, all his family burned alive in front of him, so like I get it. But also, I don't know how they're gonna bring him back into the
You really touch on a discussion that we could probably do a lot longer, but that is, as technology scales threats, how do we handle people who are committing crimes of passion that ultimately result in genocide?
I hate how much Book was just like, fuck it. we ball. It's just like the whole time. It was awful.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's a whole different discussion.
That was difficult.
Wait, so
Yeah.
have we all seen the Picard trailer?
No, Jay has not.
I thought
seen
Big
the
J
Picard
said he
trailer.
had seen it.
I
Oh,
had.
you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one I.
So we get
Picard.
the Odyssey class Enterprise F. My
Yes.
hype is real.
Yes. The
Oh,
dude who
man.
designed that for a contest in 2011 is probably thinking, "Oh my god."
Oh, he is.
This
He's
is
on Twitter
awesome.
about it.
He's real talky about it on Twitter.
How do I pronounce his name? Is it Marone or Maroney? I don't
That's
know.
actually Thomas Marone, and he's not the designer of the ship. He's the ship designer in Star Trek Online, but he didn't make
Oh.
the Odyssey class. It's actually Adam Eel.
I
I think he said
don't
that
know.
he designed
Yeah.
the Enterprise F though, or designed some of.
He made the model for it.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
but
but he didn't
he
come
made
up with
the
like
model
the
for
design.
the Enterprise
Yeah.
F. Sweet.
I
Go ahead.
I just looking at Adam Eel's Twitter made me very disappointed because the man is an alt-right transphobe on the other side of the coin.
No.
No,
man.
Grody.
That's,
Boo hiss.
but-
Thomas Maroney is all I know.
But we've got a LaForge at the helm of the Titan.
Yep.
Micah Burton plays Geordi's other daughter, who is an Enterprise or an engineer. Works with Geordi, so LeVar Burton and Micah Burton get to work side by side. That's pretty cool. She plays
And, yeah.
Alondra LaForge.
It's so cool.
It's a beautiful name.
Yeah, Alondra's beautiful.
The Odyssey class
Oh.
F, so that's great. My big jaw-dropping moment was Moriarty. What the fuck?
And lore. And lore.
No. I didn't even. Lore was like the whip topping on a giant piece of delicious cake.
Yes.
Lore was Brent Spiner's returning as not Data.
Yeah, big shocker.
Wait,
Spiner,
we're not going
character
to have a
number
season
3.
of the show without Brent Spiner?
No, we're gonna have a season of the show, but Data's gonna be in the season. You know it because they specifically said that they filmed on their Enterprise. They filmed on their Enterprise, which to me, given the context of the trailer, means that we're probably gonna open on the Enterprise D at some point in the original, adventures of TNG, in something that happened off screen that is going to instigate the creation of this villain with this amazing 4-nacelle scimitar-ish ship.
Speaking of villain, Amanda Plummer, baby.
Yeah, Vatic seems
Yes!
awesome.
I am so stoked for that because not only and somebody pointed out on Twitter that it's cool that Christopher Plummer was the last villain in the original series, or in the movies and everything, and then Amanda Plummer's daughter will be,
Picard's
I think
final
it's
ser-
daughter,
final villain?
will be the final villain in
Well,
TNG.
it's funny
So
that
that's
you
pretty
say,
dope.
It's funny that you say final because Jonathan Frakes was retweeted there was a tweet that said their final mission, and Jonathan Frakes retweeted it with the quote, "Maybe not final."
And somebody else said that it's gonna be like a torch pass.
But what?
I don't know, do like a new generation of. That's fine.
Star Trek:
here's
The
my-
next generation.
Here's my beef. I have beef.
Oh my!
With a trailer, I have beef. Well, not even
I've worn
trailer.
off on you.
But if if anything happens to Seven or Rafi, look, I know peril. I get it. It's Star Trek. Whatever. Okay. But if you can't tell, they're important to me. And I'm sick of Star Trek is guilty of this. I'm sick of queer characters dying either off screen or on screen, even if they come back for shock value and for peril, whatever. If you write a queer character, I feel like you have a bit of a responsibility to understand that most queer stories in media are tragic. We don't really get escapism like straight people do. And I feel like more writers should take into account, like, yeah, it might be a little bit Mary Jane, but also queer people don't get escapism very often. Like, let's just be kind to them once. If anything happens to either of them,
Join Olivia
Y'all are gonna
in
get-
quitting Star Trek.
y'all are gonna get a video essay from me, edited, sound, citations of the works. I'm gonna be so
So-
upset.
I just want to point out that I think the ship that they designed for Vatic is also really, really neat looking. Like, it's got it emphasizes some design choices that look really Breen. The bridge looks either very Klingon or very Cardassian, depending on which angle you're looking at it from. And it's got some real gnarly looking Sona or Dominion components that are attached on the outside. Like, the thing just looks scary. I am terrified of what it's going to do. It also can apparently chase the Neo Constitution class Titan on par speed, which is probably pretty impressive.
Yeah,
We're gonna get some good space battles in this.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think it reminded me a little bit of Nero's ship in
They did do that. Yeah, the Narada. There's that scene when it's coming in from the side and you just see the spikes on the front.
Yes.
Definitely get you there, because that's what they did with the Narada too.
Yes, and then I also noticed that the way that the bridge is lit, it's not blue, it's red, but the way that it's lit and the way that it's filmed is very similar to the way that the Into Darkness Kelvin movie, when he had was it the Dauntless? What was that?
Vengeance?
The Vengeance, thank you.
Mhm.
The filming and the lighting, even though it's not the same color, is very similar to the bridge of that ship.
Yeah, but take a look at the set itself, though. It's got this real Klingon vibe with this like industrial piping kind of thing on the side, and then on the other angle, it's got this like textured like like a honeycomb kind of situation that looks very Cardassian. Like, I don't know what the ship is. I'm looking forward to learning more, but it's got things from plenty of other villains. Yeah, it's got inspiration from other villains.
I'm excited that it's a personal story. It's a season 3 Star Trek Picard: The Search for Doc. They're going after Dr. Crusher.
Beverly Crusher. Again, if anything happens to Beverly Crusher, we ride at dawn. I will fight for that woman for the rest of my life.
You cannot kill the current mother of Star Trek.
You can't. She's so sweet. She makes kumquat jam in her free time. Don't kill off Gates McFadden, please.
To some thoughts I had to circle back around to this episode, and I'm hoping not, because this would be like a whole, we could talk about this another half-hour thing, and I got to get my ass to bed soon. But so as I think about the episode a little more as we're talking, I think that the idea behind this episode, it wasn't executed well. I get the idea behind it. It's interspecies relationship, a character being on a planet or location that they're not expected to be, they're by accident or whatever, spending time with a member of that of the indigenous species. There's some kind of connection there that's happening. We're talking probably even more complex than Klingon and a human in regards to their mating. The idea of two of what seems like completely incompatible species, I get it there. The problem is that it makes me think of the outcasts from Next Generation. Riker falling for Soren, who's a member of a androgynous race. Yeah. Right. Makes me think of Jadzia Dax and Captain Baudet. It also makes me think of the Doctor in the episode, let's see, I got it right here, Blink of an Eye, where he gets stuck on that planet for 3 years. He has a roommate, this female of the species named Marisa, and there's a mention of a son, which he doesn't really get into too much. You know, was the child adopted? Did the Doctor somehow, there was a relationship with this hologram and this woman. So there have been some very good, very compelling ways that Star Trek has taken members of two different species and put them in a unexpected situation. And the problem with this is that it was coming from the Rick and Morty writers, so Lower Decks had no chance of a thoughtful, substantial, thought-provoking rendition of this the way Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager did. So I think it was like a little bit of that potential was under it, but this was not the show for it to come out well.
I don't think that's quite fair, though, right? Because look at TNG. Vash was a character that is a lot like Peanut Hamper. She is willing to use fake love and sex to manipulate people into getting what she wants, right?
Yeah.
She manipulated Picard, right?
Yeah.
Then when she's attached to Q, she seems like she's trying to manipulate him, too. Kind of hard to manipulate a Q, but whatever. Then when she ends up on Deep Space Nine, she's trying the same shtick again, right? That's not all that different from what from what Peanut Hamper's doing, trying to use manipulation to get what they want with big plans, right? But it's just, in this case, it's meant for laughs, whereas Vash is funny, but it's not played for laughs. That's just the tone difference of the show. I don't know, it's a 22-minute long episode. They don't have the ability to build you like a character the same way they did after 5 seasons of TNG. So you got some limitations. And this is only the second time that we've really even seen Peanut Hamper.
Yeah, one more thing that I would add is that, like, also in a lot of old TNG, Voyager, all the, you know, the interspecies relationships type thing. One of my favorite ones is a Voyager episode I can't remember the name of, Counterpoint, where Janeway falls for that one guy that usually just like robs them all the time, and eventually manipulates him and so they can get out of the situation. But it's a great episode. It's really well done. I really like that one. But I think that sometimes in those older episodes, especially in the 90s, they didn't always hit the mark either. A lot of like interspecies relationships could be played for like sexist jokes or like, you know, this and that. So I feel like some of them missed the mark here and there. None quite as openly as this episode, though.
So I think that there's an episode that you just reminded me of. It's not the same one you're talking about, but it's called Live Fast and Prosper. It's about the imposter Tuvok, Janeway, and Chakotay that like pretend to be from Voyager and are scamming people out of things. That's kind of the vibe that we should be seeing from Peanut Hamper when she's talking to things, right?
That's fair.
She's pretending to do these Starfleet-y things because she somehow can get ahead with it, right? That episode was fucking hilarious to me. I loved that episode back in like 1999 or whenever. Similar in this case here. It's just they also had some cloaca humor. It's okay.
Stop it, Renzo. I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep now. I'm gonna have nightmares thinking about.
I stand by the fact that I love the Giga Chad, like, but father, we cannot trust this outsider. You know, what is up with that?
Let me be the first to propose the outlawing of the cloaking devices in the Areolan Accords. The Treaty of Areolis. The Treaty of Areolis will prohibit cloaking devices.
Don't worry, somebody in the comments is going to correct me and be like, owls don't have cloacas, they have a blah 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 instead.
Wait, I'm going to look it up.
I can only hope, man. If we could generate some negative attitude on the podcast comments, that'd be fine by me.
Oh yeah, the Tomet incident was nothing. We've got the Areola incident.
They do have cloacas. I have just confirmed owls do have cloacas.
Okay, cool. I'm not crazy then. All right, y'all. This was a fun time.
This was good. This is team building for sure.
Oh man! Hey, if you're still listening, thank you for being a part of the show. Stay tuned for a very special episode of Beyond Trek podcast coming out very soon, featuring Renzo as the facilitator for the event that went yesterday on election integrity, with panelists from the Scrutineers and Trek the Vote, as well as Trek alumni Tim Russ and Bob Picardo. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be coming out sometime in the next week. And as always, we're going boldly. Beyond Trek podcast. Hey everybody, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our Patreon and Anchor supporters, to S. Tam and Nora Hickson. Thank you so much for being a part of Beyond Trek Podcast.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your years. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.